As the chair of this committee, I have been reading the ordinances over and over again in regards to local ATAX and state ATAX to ensure that I am adhering to the rules and I understand them. I have reached out to TURC, which is Tourism Tourism Expenditure Review Committee, to ask questions about all this stuff, and I'm in agreement that we've been doing our duties as stated for the state ATAX. Now, that just makes me come to my first question, is according to the Town of Bluffton Ordinance, Section 2419, which I will read, so I'm sure if it doesn't have it memorized. Okay, so it's Accommodation Tax Advisory Committee establishment. The town hereby ratifies and confirms the establishment of a Accommodation Tax Advisory Committee to perform such duties and functions as required or authorized by the town council or state law. In particular, the Accommodation Tax Advisory Committee shall make recommendations to town council concerning the expenditures of revenue generated from all accommodation tax, in accordance with the subject to the provisions and allocations set forth in this article and any guidelines adopted by the town and the Accommodation Tax Advisory Committee. So, my first question is, it says all accommodation tax. It doesn't say only state or only local. So I just want to see if we can get a little explanation of that.
So I have not referenced what state law says.
This is on the Town of Bluffton.
Right. And it was supposed to replicate,
Sorry.
it's intended to replicate what is in state law. And so when you look at state law, it says accommodations tax.
Right.
But it only qualifies that section for state. So I believe the intention was there to reference state law, and I'll confirm that.
Okay.
This is what is said in the town.
Yeah, this is town ordinance. So then it just goes, sorry, I only have one more.
That's all right.
So then if you go under powers and duties, so this is same section, so it's 24.19, and this is B. This is powers and duties. The Accommodation Tax Advisory Committee shall review all applicants for funds of the special funds used for the tourism-related expenditures created pursuant to this article and/or state law, and shall submit written recommendations to Town Council at least once annually regarding the expenditures of such accommodation tax funds. The recommendations must be considered by Town Council in conjunction with requirements of SC Code 1976. The Accommodation Tax Advisory Committee also should review and evaluate all tenders, responses, and contracts received by the town pursuant to any request for proposals or other procurement incentives. And then on the very end it says, no applicant may receive funds from special accommodations tax unless the applicant's application has been first reviewed by Accommodation Tax and Advisory Committee. So that being said, my question of what that means, and maybe I'm reading it wrong, I could be wrong, but my perception of reading this is that all ATAX funds are supposed to be dispersed by review of the ATAC committee. So local, we're not doing, or we're not being part of that, but according to this, it says that we should be looking at it at least.
A chance to evaluate that.
And you know, I'm just putting it out there so you
No,
always
it's
get
okay.
back.
I need to
Right, I understand.
review that to make sure that it is in line. And I was going off of state code and what their parameters were. And I hear you, and so I will look at that.
So just to clarify, a couple clarifications. You're referencing town code, so I understand that you pulled up town code.
From the website.
One thing I want to make very, very clear is the advisory committee's role to make recommendations. So these are not the committee's funds, these are the town funds. The recommendations go to council from you all. So you are to review the contract for the DMO, yes, an ordinance that is in there. You make recommendations on accommodations tax funds. And any applicant for accommodations tax funds would come before you all for review and recommendation. The town council has purview over town funds in its entirety. So even though recommendations may come from your committee, ultimately council has the authority to allocate these funds per the budget process.
Did town council make a official on-record recommendation that we change the way that we are allocating the funds?
It was part of the budget process. There's budget
Did
hearing.
they make an on-the-record at the town council meeting saying we're changing a long-standing policy?
They approved the budget words that included the allocations of local aid tax.
Okay, so I totally agree with you that it is town council to go over the budget and everything. And this is where I just want to just understand a little better. It's the only reason why I'm asking this is that from what I read of this, and I have read it over and over and over and over again, that should what they are using in their budget come to the committee so we can look at it also? Like, because it's asking for recommendations of what happens with this money. So it's their job to do the budget. It is not my job to make a budget, not my job at all. My job, I think, from reading this, is that I should be able to look at it and make recommendations for something.
So we can get a specific legal opinion on whether or not it's required for all ATAC funds to come before you before it is recommended as part of the budget. It has been interpreted in the past that council has authority to allocate resources and funds and approve budgeted funds as part of the budget process, regardless of what recommendations they come from the committee. But we can get a specific recommendation from the attorney on that item. Yes.
That being said, does anybody else have any discussion?
I would just like to say something. First of all, if it came out any way other than that, we're so grateful for staff, for town, for reviewing all the applications, providing us insights into the application process, providing us what the budgetary requirements or constraints are, and then providing us all the information forward and backwards that the committee needs to make informed decisions. I think it's very unfortunate in that there was a change of direction that was unknown to both staff for ATAX and for the ATAX committee in the use of those funds. And with that said, I wholeheartedly agree that the council has the ultimate right to approve or allocate the available funds in their open session. And what we try to do is to present them with a overview from town members in the at-large or in a specific venue of the town, and to provide those recommendations from a layperson that's a town member, and hope that the insight we give them is beneficial. Been doing it for a long time, and I would say that in all the years that I've been doing it, which is a long time, that we've always had purview over all of ATAX. And I certainly understood that when the state legislator made a rule that allowed ATAX funding to be used for other purposes than it had been in the past, and in this case to help with affordable housing funding, that the writing on the wall was that we were going to lose some of our funding in one way or another. I believe Christie's on the right road in that it would behoove town council to at least go through the process of allowing ATAX to look at what their expenditures for ATAX are. In the past, I can say that there's never been a time when a town project that wanted ATAX to come up for use was ever not approved. And that's going back a long way. You too.
Yes.
So with that said, I just want to say, if it ever came across that we were less than, if we were less, if any staff feel like we weren't appreciative of what they've done, I want to make sure that's wholly not the case. And I also want to say that if there's any frustrations up here, it's not with staff, it's with council remanding this back to us to make a decision that they ultimately have the ability to make on their own. So that's my statement. I'm sorry. If anybody else has something else, please add to it.
Yes, I do. Elaine Mitchell does. As you said, I've been on the ATAX committee back in 1999 up until about 2007, and we have never had this situation. So we definitely thank you all for the work that you all have done, and it will behoove council to go and make it right without bringing it back to us. So it would look like we are the ones that are making the changes.
So, and I don't know if this is even legal, but I would simply say that, is there not a way that we can use the next quarter's tax, ATAX funds to make up the $109,000 difference of what we've suggested as an award? Because, you know, we approve with all of the applicants, and they have to spend it and then get remitted for it. So there's a lag time in there. So we are funded through the state every quarter.
Every quarter.
And roughly $300,000 to $400,000 per quarter is total, but that's part of both. It's tax, local and state. So a state accommodations tax per quarter is roughly, Natalie, in the years?
It varies. We have seen a decline in state recently. And so when we receive the funds from the state every quarter, there is a distribution. The first 25 goes to the town, and then 5% goes to the general fund, and then 30% goes to our DMO, and then that remaining 65% is available for distribution. So, and it just varies. So after you do all of those distributions, it could range from $100,000 to $175,000 that's available. I don't know what this next quarter is going to bring.
So is it a possible solution that we could allow our initial recommendations to council to stand pursuant to the use of the next quarter's funds?
It's the committee's vote on what they want to recommend to town.
That is a possibility.
It's the committee's decision.
Okay. Yeah, I just never had to
Yes,
worry about
the
it.
guidance was provided to remain, with what's available, so.
So can we make does somebody want to make a motion? Oh, you have a,
Yeah.
sorry.
So, I wanted to listen to everyone before I chimed in. The idea that town staff and town council will now control the allocation of local aid tax funds is not inherently a bad thing. I've seen the planned allocations from the budget. There's a case to be made that every allocation will benefit tourism. The funds available have grown from tens of thousands to millions. No argument there. The fact that we're called here today, it's very frustrating to all of us. And I'm going to try not to repeat anything that anybody else said. Each meeting, we've been told at the top of the meeting, since I've been on the board and just in terms of research that I've done with past members, that it's been going on as long as they can remember. We're told state aid tax funds available, local aid tax funds available, then they're added together to give us the total available funds. It's in every meeting packet. So the concept this was a town staff error, it just doesn't hold water. I don't blame you, and I'm frustrated that I appreciate what y'all have done, and I appreciate that you've all attempted to fall on the sword this week, but it shouldn't be happening. The communication has fallen far short of what's necessary, and the communication from town council. We are friends, we are colleagues with every member of town council. Now, there's state law, and I won't argue with what you said, Chris, and I respect what you said, but then there is courtesy and respect, and that was not allocated here, and that's what's frustrating. This process, this monumental change in the way that local aid tax funds are allocated happened months ago, happened before our last meeting, okay? Happened before our last meeting, and no one alerted us to it. Now, should we have known by, I mean, as Christy said, I'm here as an advisory committee volunteer. You know, it's frustrating. This process and this fiscal year budget went into place July 1st, correct?
Well, actually, I'm not frustrated.
Well, I'm not done, Nate.
I'm not frustrated.
So if you could respect my time, I respected your time.
I didn't have a time.
Okay, you had a time.
No.
and you didn't.
I'm not
Okay,
gonna do it.
so
You're not going to turn this
please
into
pay
some
me
kind
the
of
respect
campaign.
of
You're not
letting
going to turn
me
this into
finish.
some kind of campaign speech.
No, it isn't. And I resent it. I
Well,
resented your
that's-
email,
well,
and I resent you saying it here.
Well, I'm saying it here so it can be open.
Fair enough. Okay. It's not fair, Nate.
Why is it unfair?
It's not fair to say
It's not fair what
that.
you're doing.
How is this not fair?
Because we're here to solve this.
We are here to solve
this
it,
is
but
not
that
gonna be a
doesn't mean
campaign
that we
speech
wipe
and try to
swipe
make
it
the town
under the
try-
carpet.
We're not swiping it under
Okay.
the carpet. We're not going to try to make
Listen, I tried to be
We're
respectful.
not going to try to make town council.
I tried to be
look bad or anybody
respectful.
else look
He's
bad.
the one that
We
butted
are
in.
here to remedy a situation. Let's do that.
I agree with that, Nate. It's not fair what you said. I have, it's just not fair, Nate.
That's my opinion. That's my
You're
opinion.
better than that.
That's my opinion.
And that's fine. You want to draw that line in the sand, go ahead. I'm sorry to those that wasted their time filling out the applications and that came up before us last time only to feel like, what is going on? You know, I understand that mistakes happen. I make them every day. But we should have communication. We should have respect. And that's what's frustrating here.
Personally, I'm glad to be a part of this.
I am not done, Nate.
Hey, well, I tell you what. We need to gather.
Now,
this.
do
You're
you
not going to
wanna-
take all
do you wanna
night.
follow Robert's
You're not
rules of
gonna
order
take-
here?
We're not going to take all night with you listening to that.
I've spoken for like a minute, Nate.
Well, that's a minute too long.
So,
So, you know what?
gentlemen,
This is not right, okay? You have as much political, yes, you
I'm not running
do.
for
You
any
want to
office.
call out people, Nate?
I'm not running
You want
for
to
any
call out
office.
people, you have as much political interest here.
I'm
And that's
not
why
running for
you're
any office.
speaking out. Let's call it what it is, if you really want to call it what it
What
is.
political interest do I have?
Okay.
gentlemen, let's keep on track, please. So Nate, duly noted that you think he's politicizing it, and duly noted that you don't think you are. And so how close are you to being finished?
I'm pretty close. I just,
Please finish.
yeah, absolutely. We did what met state guidelines. We're here to fix it today, okay? I don't believe, I've asked questions in terms of how we got here, and they just haven't been answered. And I'm not gonna apologize for being frustrated by that. I respect what y'all do. I've shown that respect. I've tried to. If I haven't, I apologize. I've tried to. We approve the projects because the funds are there, and we follow the mandate given to us, period. And I'm frustrated that we're here today.
Anybody else have a comment?
I really appreciated what you mentioned, Sam, about the possibility of borrowing from the next quarter. If that's a possibility, I think that that's something well worth discussion.
If I can go. You got something? I was gonna,
Go ahead. That's what I was about to ask.
I was gonna make a motion, but Donna, you got something to say before I do that?
I just want to remind that we have another quarter coming up with the deadline for applicants on October 2nd.
Understood. So I would like to make the motion that we remit to council our initial recommendation that we made at our last meeting with the caveat that should we have a shortfall at the award process that is made up with future funds from the state fund and approve what recommendations they see fit based upon our recommendation that we sent up to council last meeting session.
Do I have a second?
I second that motion.
Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. All right. Motion to adjourn?
Aleem Mitchell so moved that the meeting is adjourned.
Second? All in favor? Yay. Aye. Thank you.
I had something else.